Good afternoon, Rotarians, friends, and guests. My name is Becky Fields, and I am the proud president of the Rotary Club of Tulsa. And I have a question for you. How many of you got to come out this weekend to the Rhythm and Brews? Oh my goodness. Did you have a good time? Yes. Wonderful. This event far surpassed our imagination, our dreams, our hopes. And I see Monica out there, the chair, just beaming from ear to ear. And all of our committee members, if you're a committee member, will you just raise your hand really quickly and let us thank you? We're going to have some more information and all the goodies next week, but we wanted to have some more things tied up before we got back to you. But you know, our biggest goal for that was awareness of Rotary and what we do. And I know that we did that. We ended up on our Facebook page, we had over 105,000 visits to our Facebook page in the last 28 days. We had 6,000 people say they were interested in going to our event, so every time that we posted things, they got notifications and people were commenting and engaging with our club and really thinking that we're pretty cool after they went to that event, I must say. I talked to several young doctors that had just moved here, and they said, oh my goodness, you guys do this every year, we hope you do this, and now they're going to come and check out our club. We have a brand new member that's going to join after she came to the brunch and saw all that we did. And you guys, it worked, and we are just so excited, and we think we even might have raised a little money in the process too, which is amazing on the first year, you know. Yeah. So the energy was out there, and we just really have you to thank. And we knew that we could pull something off just because we have such a big grassroots effort within our club that we can really, if we set our mind to something, we can do it, and we move mountains. And I couldn't be prouder standing up here than looking at all of you and who sponsored, who came, who gave, who told your friends in whatever capacity. We appreciate you, and we'll have more information on that next week. But let's begin our program with invocation with Jim Campos, song and pledge from John Croissant, visitor introductions with DJ Murrow Ingram, and new member introduction from Lane Dolly.
Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, whose will it is that all your people should dwell together in harmony, we give you thanks for the opportunities we find in Rotary to widen our circle of friendship and goodwill. We are grateful for new friends whom we have come to know in this club and for the joys we have found in sharing our own friendship with others. Lead us daily to find new avenues of goodwill in our business and professional life. Give us patience in dealing with those who are sharp and bitter. Give us creativity in finding ways to express ourselves. And Lord, give us a sense of humor that we may not take ourselves too seriously. Bless this club and its activities and its outreach to our community. May our world be a better place because we have been here. Amen.
And we were definitely blessed on Saturday with just an absolutely beautiful day. So today, why don't we start with America the Beautiful. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of gray, for purple mountains' majesty above the fruited plains. America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome the visitors to our club today. I'm going to first announce the guests, and if you would stand with your host, and please hold your applause until all have been introduced. We have Mark Burton, who is a guest of President Becky Fields. We have Cheryl Wyworth, a guest of Bob Wyworth. We have Joanne Schaub, a guest of Sandy Siegfried. Taylor Hansen, a guest of Will Smith. Kevin Harper, a guest of Will Smith. Ellie Powers, a guest of Stevie Charus. I might not have done that right. And Heather Rogers is a guest of Mike Rogers, and also their three children, Kanan Rogers, Cadence Rogers, and Kirsten Rogers. Thank you. Please join me in welcoming them to the club. We are also privileged to have three past district governors with us today. Wallace Williams from the North Tulsa Club. George Patton, a past district governor. And Pedro, oh, I can't do it, Pedro, I'm so sorry, I can't. I said, how do you do your last name? Figueroa, I think, it's close. So, hi, Pedro, so thank you for being with us. We also are privileged to have the wife of our district governor, Gay Hupnagel, with us down here up front. And then we're also very privileged to have the district governor-elect with us today, Dr. Jay Craig, down here up front. We appreciate you all being here with us today. Thank you for coming. It's a great crowd. We hope to see you again soon. Thank you.
It's always exciting when we get to introduce a new member, and today's special. This year, individual and corporate membership categories to the Rotary Club of Tulsa were joined by spousal and under 40 categories. Today, it is an honor to welcome our first spousal member, Pat Lycum. Pat's story exemplifies how Tulsa, Oklahoma became such a revered, prominent city in America. It's really true that if you build it, they will come. When Tulsa was on the rise, Pat's father left a banking position in Boston to work for an Oklahoma oil company. Of course, they stayed, became part of this beautiful, enterprising community, and sent Pat to Monte Cassino. After she married Kip Lycum at Holy Family Cathedral, they had two sons whose own families still call Tulsa home. Check the box for loyalty. Education is important to the Lycum family. Their sons and daughters-in-law are all OSU graduates. Pat put her own business degree to work for over a decade in the advertising industry, ultimately becoming head media buyer at a large Tulsa agency. After that, she was a member of the elementary school faculty at Monte Cassino for 18 years. Check, high standards. Pat and Kip were generous gold table sponsors, benefiting our foundation at last Saturday's Rhythm and Brews brunch, which was a huge success, as we heard. Before that, the Rotary Club of Tulsa had already benefited from Pat Lycum's skills and commitment to quality. She has hosted, catered, and elevated a number of events and meetings in support of this club's projects and goals. Each time, Pat and Kip's beautiful home was full. Let's face it, Pat Lycum draws a crowd. Check, quality and service. Today, we're honored that an outstanding Tulsan like Pat joins our membership. Here is a direct quote from Kip that says it all. Pat's the best person I've ever known. Join me in welcoming Pat Lycum, one of the best new Rotarians we will ever know.
Oh, how exciting. Welcome, Pat. You know, we've already had you in our hearts as a Rotarian, and we're so excited that you're an official Rotarian today. Thank you for joining us in this momentous occasion on this new membership level. Very exciting. We want to give a special thanks to this week's meeting sponsor, Jackie Cooper Imports, and Greg Keck, who does so much for our club. Thank you, Greg, for your generosity. We have one committee meeting following the program today. Upstairs, Above and Beyond will begin meeting in room 231. And in upcoming programs, next week on November 13th, we have Terry Hill, owner of 3D Printing. This will be a special Veterans Day program. Please invite special veterans in your life. We would love to honor them next week. It's going to be a very wonderful program. We're excited to have Terry speak to us next week. And then on November 20th, Aaron Bolze of Tulsa Remote, the Tulsa Remote Workers project that GKF Foundation has started, and so we'll hear all about that. That will be a very, very informative program that I know you'll want to know about. At this time, it is my honor to recognize our new members who are ready to receive their blue badge. So please come forward and line up in front of the stage when your name is called. Chris Ambergy, Jim Campos, Sharon Cosby, Ashley Cutshaw, Sherry Fine, Scott Fitzgerald, John Hamill, Dan Newberry, Mike Rogers, and Sarah Stokely. Congratulations on earning your blue badge today, and thank you for all that you're already doing. I see you guys on all the committee meetings and already showing up and getting engaged, already chairing things, and so we are just so excited to have you all in the club. Thank you for the time and effort that you're investing in our club. Please welcome Rotary Foundation Chair Elaine Dishman for a special Paul Harris presentation.
Good afternoon. The Rotary Foundation is one of the largest and most important programs of Rotary. Without the foundation, Rotary could not continue its many humanitarian programs and its efforts to promote world understanding, goodwill, and peace. The foundation is a nonprofit corporation supported solely by your contributions and friends of the foundation who share its vision of a better world. The Paul Harris Society contributions to the Rotary Foundation support education, improvement of health, the alleviation of poverty that enable Rotarians to bring hope and promote international understanding throughout the world. Today, we are here to recognize several outstanding individuals and present them with Rotary's Paul Harris Fellow Award. A Paul Harris Fellow is an individual that contributes $1,000 to the Rotary Foundation, either through individual giving or through a match of foundation recognition points. The Paul Harris Fellow recognition is Rotary's way of expressing its appreciation for a substantial contribution to the foundation goals. And we'd like to make our presentations at this time. Andrew Coffey. Mike Carter. Eddie Sutton, who's not able to be with us today. John Hamill. Eric Cullen. Lane Dolly. Oh. Oh. Eric Cullen. There's Lane Dolly. Okay. Ashley Kutchell. We have a surprise for you today. You are being recognized today as a Paul Harris Fellow in special appreciation for the ways in which your life exemplifies the humanitarian and educational objectives of the Rotary Foundation. You were designated to receive this special recognition by your father, Richard Holmes. and fellow Rotarian. Mhm. Okay. Okay. And now, a multitude of Paul Harris Fellow is a Paul Harris Fellow who has contributed additional $1,000 gifts above the initial contribution to the foundation. At this time, we would like to recognize the following Rotarians on behalf of the trustees of the Rotary Foundation who have made it to the next level as multiple Paul Harris Fellows. Richard Holmes, Paul Harris Fellow +1. Ken McConnell +2. Brenda Melancon +3. Bob Worth +4. Way to go, girl. John Rains +5. Corey Nickerson +5. Way to go. Scott Filstra +6. Way to go, Corey. And Jim Burrell +6. You have all set an example for many by your contributions. Thank you for making a difference in your community and in the lives of less fortunate people in the world. Please join me in congratulating and recognizing all of our Paul Harris Fellows out here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elaine, and congratulations to all of our recipients today and all of you who participate in the Paul Harris Society. And we are so thankful to you, and we know that you don't do this for the recognition, but we love to be able to recognize you for not only your service above self, but your investment in our club and in our future of our club. Please direct your attention to the screens for a special message from Rotary International President Mark Daniel Maloney.
Hello, fellow Rotarians. I am Mark Maloney, the President of Rotary International for 2019-2020. To me, every Rotary gathering is like a big family event, and I wish I could be with you today to share your fellowship. I know that you will have a wonderful time celebrating all the ways that Rotary connects the world. Keep talking about ways that you can grow Rotary. Do everything you can to make your meetings more family-friendly and suited to your career responsibilities. But most of all, enjoy yourselves. Whether you are performing service together or just catching up with old friends, one of the benefits of Rotary membership is sharing good times with people who put service above self. If you have not already, go to riconvention.org and register today for our 2020 Rotary International Convention
Our Rotarian of the Day is Assistant District Governor Carol Orr. Carol has been a member of the Rotary Club of Tulsa Sunrise since January 2000. She is a past president, a major Rotary donor in a number of categories, as well as an MSNI ambassador. Carol has held a number of district-level posts and is currently serving as our assistant governor. Asked to explain on why she is a Rotarian, Carol said, "My father and mother laid the foundation of being part of organizations that help others in need. I have always received great pleasure when helping others in various ways. Rotary gives me the ability to reach further than just my community and opens opportunities to help the people of the world." Please help me welcome Assistant District Governor Carol Orr.
It's always a pleasure to be here. I get nervous, though, when I get up here at the lectern. So, with further ado, I will introduce our esteemed Rolf Huffnagel, our district governor. If you will stand when he comes to the lectern, I'd appreciate it. Rolf was born in Germany, and he was fluent German accent every once in a while, right? And he came to the U.S. in 1956. As he was here in the U.S., he decided that he would join the Army. So after a while, he became a captain. He served in Germany, in Vietnam, and his last station was Fort Sill, Oklahoma. He received his Bachelor's of Science in Cameron University down at Lawton, and his MBA from the University of Oklahoma in Norman. He has spent his entire career in the energy industry and specialized in finance and management. He worked for 25 years for public and private companies, and then he was able to go out on his own, and he purchased, built up, and sold several companies of oil and gas over the next 10 years. These range from several $1 million to $42 million in sales proceeds. He's been active in his church and chaired various committees, and he and his wife co-chaired the only major capital fundraising effort for the church to have a debt-free church. And it still remains the same, debt-free, which is unusual in this day and age. He has been married to his wonderful wife for 30 years. They have 5 children, 11 grandchildren, and 4 great-grandchildren, and they all live here. And so when he travels, he takes them with him. He's been a Rotarian since 2007 and is a member of the Bigsby Rotary Club. He's had 5 board positions there, was past president, and 2011, 2012. And then from 2012 to 2015, he was an AG. And then from 16 to 2018, he was one of the lieutenant governors of the district. That's a new position, and one of those positions that some of you could aspire to attain eventually. He is a Paul Harris Society member, a major donor, and we only have 2 Arch Clump Society members in District 6110, and he is one of them. It is a pleasure to introduce Rolf Huffnagel. Please stand.
With all that ad-libbing, that took longer than my speech. I need to, maybe in the form of an introduction, I need to add something because You know, when you try to put together a resume for somebody, I'm 72 years old, you can't get it all down on one sheet of paper, and particularly when you have somebody who starts ad-libbing and adding stuff. There's a big gap in that resume, and the gap occurs where she says, I worked for 25 years for public companies, and then I had the opportunity to go out on my own. Well, the opportunity presented itself because I was downsized by a company. For the younger ones, that means I was fired. So my wife and I decided what an opportune time to go out on our own. We had always talked about doing something on our own. That's the aspiration of, I guess, most MBAs to do it. And certainly we were capable. She had background in land. I had background in finance and in oil and gas. So we decided that's what we're going to do. We didn't expect it to take 5 years to get our first transaction done because that sort of drains you, because when you're fired, you don't have an income anymore. And the thing that happens, and some of you will understand this, when you're in a public company, you have a senior title, particularly when you work for a company that was a go-go company of the 70s. We went from the Pacific Exchange to the American Exchange to the New York Stock Exchange. Our stock moved 65 points in one 6-week period because we were drilling deep wells and what have you. So we were real popular in New York with the investment bankers because they made a lot of money on us. Well, the day you lose that title, they lose your business card. All of a sudden, you're not on their Rolodex anymore. And all of a sudden, access to the investment banker became null for me, which kind of slows you down a little bit because you're used to that being your source of capital. But I had a transaction in mind. There was a company that was going through receivership that I really wanted to work on. The problem there is it's in the court system, and the court system is not wasn't working on my timetable. It took 5 years for us to get the transaction out of the court system and get it purchased. In an interim period in that five years, my ex-wife sued me because she thought we had hidden assets because we were surviving somehow. The IRS decided the same thing, so they decided to audit us. So at one point in time, we had no income, an audit going on, and a lawsuit going on. So we had a wonderful time stumbling around at night, trying to figure out. And we had employees we were trying to pay at the same time. Anyways, the judge found in my favor and said she was being greedy, so he took her alimony away. Well, she was a full-time professor at OU, and I was unemployed, so that seemed reasonable. The IRS actually sent me money back because when they did the audit, they found out I had been overpaying my taxes. And we finally got the transaction out. I was able to buy this company for $24 million. I had $16 million in senior debt from a bank in Houston, and I thought I had an $8 million equity player with a utility company, but they backed out at the last minute because they got cold feet. They couldn't do equity, but they offered to do sub-debt. Now, those of you that are in banking will recognize sub-debt is a totally ridiculous piece of financing because you can't pay it back. Your senior debt holder will never allow you to pay it back. So what you do is you negotiate as long a grace period as you can. I got 30 months and hope to be able to do something. This was back when oil was about $34 a barrel. And I figured with redoing the engineering report, the property had been pretty dormant for 5 years, that we could maybe refinance it. So we closed the transaction. We worked about 8 months on it, getting the wells cleaned up, redoing the engineering, and I started heading to New York to find some refinancing. While there, I ran into a broker from Dallas, and he asked me out to dinner, and while at dinner, he goes, "Are you ready to sell the company?" Well, being in the oil business, you got to say, everything's for sale for the right price. He said, "Well, I've got a buyer for you." And I said, "Well, what's the buyer got in mind?" He said, $42 million. I said, "Sold." I'm quick. I said, "Okay, what's the catch?" He says, "Well, you may have a problem with this. The buyer is the company that downsized you." I said, No, wait a minute, that could be an opportunity. I said, "I have a little trust issue with them, but here's what we'll do. This is Tuesday. If they're serious about this, I want a letter of intent, and I want $1 million, non-refundable, in my account by Friday." He said, "That won't be a problem. They thought you'd ask for more." missed that one up. But anyways, they came through with that. It took us about 2.5 months to do the title work on the properties, and we closed the transaction at the $42 million level in February of '97. And that kind of set up our whole family. We did several more transactions that were almost as good as that one, but not quite, but it worked out real well. Okay, my speech is relatively short because I know how much you love to hear district governors speak. Actually, I have to tell you a quick story. In Springdale, they have they're meeting at the Apollo Theater, and they have a marquee on the Apollo Theater, and they have a sign that when I drove up, it said, "Springdale Rotary welcomes District 6110 District Governor Rolf Huffnagel and his wife Gay." A couple drove up and they saw that sign and said, "Nah, I don't want to listen to a district governor," and they went to lunch. We'll make it up in Rogers tomorrow, which is right next door. There I was. And they walked in the door and they just started laughing. They came over and said, "We tried to miss you yesterday, and I guess we're stuck with you today." Okay, this is a quick one. Who are we as Rotarians? Rotarians are people that plant trees they'll never sit under, build houses they'll never live in, restore ice sites for people they'll never meet, educate children they'll never know, make crawlers into walkers. We are part of the most financially sound, largest, most powerful network service organization in the world. Every minute of every day, we feed someone, house someone, vaccinate someone, perform surgery on someone, comfort someone, heal someone, and provide clean water. You go from being a Rotary Club member to a Rotarian when you have your Rotary moment. Now, a Rotary moment can be any number of things. It can be it's usually something when you're doing a service project. So it can be anything from delivering dictionaries to delivering wheelchairs to any service project. And God knows your club does a lot of service projects. So you ought to have plenty of opportunities to have Rotary moments. You've all heard the number 1.2 million. We've been 1.2 million Rotarians for the last 10 years. Actually, we're 1.2222213, so we've grown a little bit. We have 35,926 clubs, so we've grown there, and then 534 districts. The growth is primarily in India, apparently. And I say that because I'm on a Facebook chain of district governors, and I seem to get more from India than anywhere else in the world. Our 6 pillars and Rotary are to promote peace, fight disease, provide clean water, save mothers and children, support education, and grow local economies. We believe in service, fellowship, diversity, integrity, and leadership. As an organization that's stagnant at 1.2 million members, it's in the last 10 years, it's time that we do something else. The problem is there's such a competitive market out there for people's time. Young professionals barely have time enough for family and soccer and baseball and football and dance and all the other activities that the kids are involved in. So we're competing with a lot of time constraints. Rotary is at a crossroads, and we all know it. We've got to make some decisions. They can't be 20th century decisions. They've got to be 21st century decisions. We need to lead by innovation, and that really means we've got to look at our leadership. We have a new vision statement that we came up with, and you've seen it probably. I'm sure you have. Together we see a world where people unite, take action to create a lasting change in the world, in our community, and in ourselves. That's a pretty esoteric vision statement, guys. In order to look at that, you need to diagnose it a little bit by asking some questions like, how do we continue to stay relevant? How do we re-engineer or recalibrate ourselves? How do we reframe ourselves? How do we evolve with the times without losing our identity? Paul Harris was quoted as saying, "There's nothing in Rotary so sacred that cannot be set aside in favor of something better." That's probably a pretty good deal. We're living in a time in a great organization that needs to adapt and grow. In order to grow, we need great leadership. This club clearly has had great leadership over a long period of time. But let's talk about leadership. You know, leadership in my vintage it was innate. You were born a leader, or you had the rank or the title of a leader. So is that the case in Rotary? No, it's not. In Rotary, I, as district governor, lead the district by serving the district. So we're really a servant leadership organization. We're all volunteers. You can't fire me. You could double my salary, maybe. Wouldn't do a lot, but hey. The history of Rotary tells us, that we're not born leaders, we're situational. It's not a status symbol, it's not by rank, it's not a position of power. It's enjoyed. The success we've had in Rotary with the eradication of polio is a testament to the volunteer organization being very, very effective in getting things done in that structure. It's about action, such as a day when you decided to join Rotary, or when you decided to step up and serve on a committee, the club board, the leadership of a club, or of a district. It's knowing when to lead for the future or when to manage the present. Membership. Every district governor gets hit with membership. This year we've added diversity and inclusivity. It's not a numbers game, but sure would feel good if we had, instead of 1.2 million, we had 2 million. God, what happened if we had 3 million? Everybody seems to be pushing add more numbers. My thing would be keep your current membership, retention. To me, that's a lot more important than worrying about new membership. This club has already added 17 new members this year. That's awesome. Keep the old members, keep them engaged. You have so many projects that you're doing in so many functional areas that you could lock people into, particularly all the new ones that lined up here today. Get them engaged. That's what retains them. Mark Maloney, you had him on screen a minute ago, about 6 months ago, released the Rotary International Action Plans. It had 4 goals. The first one was to increase our impact, and that really addressed the issue of Rotary International partnering with the United Nations. The second goal was expand our reach, that was membership. The third goal was enhance participants' engagement. That basically says get people involved. The fourth goal was increase our ability to adapt. I think that was addressed as us old-timers, because apparently us old-timers have a problem adapting. Foundation. My passion in Rotary has been the foundation. My story is real simple. The first year I was a Rotarian, my sponsor came up to me and said, I will give you 500 points if you give me $500, and you will be a Paul Harris Fellow, and that's important. Well, I wanted to be important, so I gave him $500. Second year, he said, if you sign up on this automatic withdrawal to the Rotary Foundation for $82 and something, you will be a Paul Harris Society member, and that's really important. Well, I wanted to be really important, so I did that. I did that for 9 years, and then all of a sudden I realized, I should be a major donor by now. So I called Rotary International 4 or 5 times, because it takes you that long to find somebody to talk to. And I finally found a lady, and I said, look, I think I'm a major donor. And she goes, no, you're not. I said, why not? She said, well, do you remember that 500 points you got? I had forgotten about them. I said, yeah, I do remember now. She said, well, that doesn't count. I said, well, what do I have to do? She said, well, you have to send me $427, and you'll be a major donor. So I sent her $427, so I was a major donor. Have you all had Ed Hardesty do his presentation, with all the arrows and buckets and things? Well, I sat through it probably 6 times, and I have no clue what he was talking about. I still don't. I never understood why, but what I did hear, though, was what the foundation does and the miracles that it works. And so I learned to appreciate the foundation, not necessarily the mechanics of how the grants come back to us. So 2 years ago, my wife and I decided that we really did like being involved in the miracles that the foundation works, so we became Arch Clump Society members. And we did it because we were in Atlanta at the international conference, and somewhere in there we saw a sign that said, "It's not what you're able to do, but what you're willing to do." And that struck a chord. Okay, I'm going to read you this story, and then it'll be it. This story's supposed to rhyme, so stay with me. It takes a unique quality to set aside one's needs and join a special club to ensure that dreams succeed. It takes determination that comes from deep within. It takes one of a kind to be a Rotarian. It takes one who is willing to heed a call for help. It takes belief to act in service above self. It takes a heart of gold to say, "Yes, count me in." It takes rock-solid character to be a Rotarian. It takes time and patience and staying to the end, and a stranger's cry for help, for you to be their friend. It takes dealing with rejection and leading from your chin. It takes real humility to be a Rotarian. It takes far-reaching vision to see when people fall, and a hand outstretched to help them again stand proud and tall. It takes a shoulder to the wheel and words of "let's begin." It takes a voice of hope to be a Rotarian. It takes a kind of magic to achieve the things they've done: teamwork, trust, tenacity, and of course, a lot of fun. It takes all the above, but when all is said and done, it just takes one who cares to be a Rotarian. Thank you for being Rotarians and doing all that you do in the service. Your community would not be the same without you. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Rolfe. Your words are very inspiring, and for those of you that didn't know, before the program today, we had our club assembly. So if you're newer to the club, what happens is every year the district governor goes around to all of our clubs. And Gay, how many clubs have you guys gone to now? 64, and she's traveled along the whole time, his wife, which is amazing. So they go around and visit all the clubs and just see what we're doing and see how they can help and encourage us. And he told us today that whenever he came to our club, he knew he would be extremely inspired, but impressed, that's right, impressed, but actually after hearing all of the director's reports of what you are doing in your committees, that he was actually overwhelmed. And so he just gave us very high accolades for everything that we're doing in Rotary, and we're just excited to have you guys here today. Thank you for your servant leadership. On behalf of the club, every time we have a speaker in, we donate a book to our partner school, which is Celia Clinton Elementary School. And so one will be donated in your name, and it's called In November. And another presentation we would like to make to you today is we are also celebrating, our Rotary Club is 104 years old, and our 100th centennial book, a beautiful book that we had made, we wanted to present to you as well today. All right, Rotarians, you know the drill. You are generous, you are kind, you are amazing, you are agents of change. Now go change the world.